link. So the button is hit. Here we go. Come on in, everybody. We see you out there. It's time for the Sunday Funnies. I got to
Whiskey's here.
remake. Let him in, will you? I got to remake my Facebook page and put it to public
Ooh, this whiskey.
early in the hopes that we have contributors. There we go. Chat's open, folks. Facebook page is on. You're good to go. Good to go. Come on in, Whiskey.
No, he's in.
There we are. There we are. Whiskey, how you doing?
Good morning, everybody.
We're on
Whiskey,
already.
You're a bit late
live.
for Friday's show. It's Sunday now. Where have you been?
Yeah, there you are.
Sleeping
You missed
For
the
3
Watchmen.
days.
for 3 days. Yeah.
The whole day. Got to do something.
What were you saying, Randy?
Huh?
I missed
Happy you're here. Yeah. I said you missed the Watchmen.
Yeah, I did.
Now you're going to be an issue behind.
No, I'll catch up. There's always a book somewhere.
Always a book somewhere. That's what we're going to talk about today. All the crazy books that we've used for research. Here we go. Here's the opening.
So,
right.
so by research, are we talking about books here? I didn't mean to interrupt you, but a book like
anything you've got, whatever you
anything
need.
we
You know how the
Not like-
Sunday funny conversation wanders?
not
we're here
research
for.
like curing cancer type stuff, but like research we used for books, right? Like
Right.
Okay.
Research that we've used in our art form, our inspiration, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
All right. I'll
I have a
pull
lot
one
of.
up.
I have a book on how to make a proper Flint, Coney Island hot dog. And I'm not going to show that today. It's got the secret recipe in the back. We used to have a restaurant here in town that everybody would go to at 2 a.m. after they left the bar. They had to close 1 hour a day. They were told by the health department that they had to close 1 hour a day just to clean. So they had to go out and scrape all the grease off the griddle and clean up. It was the best food in the area. I'm telling you, especially the best place to get a cheeseburger at 2 a.m. Fantastic.
Sounds amazing.
And they had a Coney Island chili sauce that was it was a secret recipe for the longest time that includes cow parts that most folks don't use anymore. So, and it had a specific taste. It was really good. Anyway, not comics. Come on in, folks. Come on in. This is Sunday Funnies. So we're all here to talk about the different books we've used in research, the stuff, the place we go to figure out how to do what we do and what we love. So I've got a bunch of books. So book poops to show off, reference books, everything from got a copy recently in hardback of All in Color for a Dime for comic book history by Don Thompson and Dick Lupoff. That's a book that I read when I was young. I had this book. I would borrow this book out of the library all the time. I was lucky to find a hardbound copy of it at a used bookstore in Detroit, because my other copy was in paperback and it's literally in shreds. Yeah. I've shown this off before. I bought this in the back of a Warren magazine. Look, it's incredibly abused.
That's the way it should be.
But it's got a great color section in it, and it's got cover reproductions.
Wow.
Talking about the history of and at the time this was amazing. Yeah. I didn't pull out my copy of Great Comic Book Heroes by Jules Pfeiffer,
Damn.
which I should have done. We'll go through that on a Comics by Night sometime real soon. I got a couple copies of Jules Pfeiffer's. Fawcett Comics, amazing comic company nobody wants to talk about anymore. But
Awesome. It's great.
what a great set of what a great group of people there. That there's my favorite cover going right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah,
Yeah,
none better.
people just sitting around a table. What are they going to be doing anyway? Here we go. There's one for you.
Yeah, Kirby.
Wow.
Great Boys
Wow.
Ranch, right next to
Young
Alex.
Allies.
Alex
Schlumberg, is it?
Schomburg. Yeah, Alex Schomburg, Young Allies cover.
Yeah,
That,
they're
so
good, aren't they? Those people
so
are good, aren't
phenomenal. Look at that.
they? Look at that.
Just amazing
Oh.
stuff. Anyway, all in color for a dime. If you ever get a chance to find a copy, pick it up. There's also a companion to that called the Comic Book, which I only could find in hardback. I don't think they ever did a
A floppy.
a trade of it. Yeah,
Wow. Yeah.
the Comic Book, which continues all of the essays. Doesn't have the color section in it, but it's got a lot of black and white illustrations in it. It's got a chapter on spirit in it. It's got it's just great.
You know when I'm going to show my ignorance here. You know when Eisner was doing the Spirit and all that work in the 50s and 60s, did he have a studio, or are those all his drawings?
I think it was mostly himself at that point. He had
Right.
He started out doing a studio, the Eisner.
Yeah, because
studio.
Kirby worked there, didn't he?
Yeah, he had.
But
there was
I-
a lot of people that went through that studio at that time.
When Eisner
turned
was
out
in
to be great.
charge, when
Mhm.
Eisner was in charge of that situation in the 40s,
Mhm.
was he doing any drawing?
Yeah.
Right, as well as running the studio.
Yeah, they were all cranking it out together,
Right.
trying to get it out and done. They were packaging books for Jumbo Comics, Planet Comics, Creative Channel, Jumbo Girl, Black Hawk. Quality, like he started the whole quality line. Uncle Sam.
Yep.
He recreated. He did. They did an imitation of the Spirit called Midnight over there. He sees Black Condor, the Ray. Both of those characters are Eisner creations.
Right.
So yeah. So finding folks like Lou Fine and all the early Jack Cole, all those early.
Did
Quality
Infantino go
guys.
through that as well?
I thought Infantino had always been national periodicals.
Right.
Yeah.
Probably
What-
right. You're right.
The HBO, the Max streaming service, is starting a docu-series starting up next week, and I don't know how many episodes it goes. The wife just told me about it this morning, about the history of DC Comics. I can't wait to see it,
Oh wow, yeah, that'll be good.
to see if it's like that Disney Stan Lee documentary. You
I'm-
sit there
I'm
and you
gonna
go, no,
I was going to say,
No.
didn't Stan Lee create DC?
yeah,
He
right.
did. I mean, it was like all him.
Him and nobody else.
You know, Martin Goodman got in there, and they're just like, this Batman thing has some legs.
Legs,
But
yeah.
I don't know. Let's give him some wacky teenager that we can always hold hostage.
That's why Robin wore the colorful suit.
Yep.
He
Why?
was
he
the
was-
target.
Robin, the
Oh,
boy
I see.
hostage.
Oh dear. Right.
Exactly. Oh, they needed to
Named
brighten him up. They
Target,
took-
the boy hostage. But
Yeah.
hey,
I want to know how much my Captain America reprints from the 40s are worth with that infamous panel on them. You've heard about that panel
Which panel?
where Bucky's tied down and he's some disgruntled print guy put something on the yellow plate.
Oh, okay.
And it was I was going to say it was pulled, it was taken off the shelves, and I got one of the original prints of it, so it was reissued without the that on the yellow. I just wonder what it might be worth now.
There was a whole lot of disgruntled going on at that point.
I know.
Just angry people. It's crazy. And Kirby sitting there making. Could you imagine Simon and Kirby doing Captain America #1 at the point in history that it was? Nowadays we look back on it and marvel at it, but at that point, Martin just going, "I don't care, it's a funny book, just print the thing,"
Yeah.
That's
And
okay. We'll do one that's pro America. Let's show our
Didn't
patriotism.
they put that
What do you-
about a year before Pearl Harbor as well?
Yeah,
mhm.
Well, they
Just
knew it
as-
was coming. They knew they were going.
just as Hitler had invaded Poland, I think that's when they
Yeah.
were what inspired it. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they had a bunch of relatives over there that were being hurt,
Yeah.
killed, concentrated, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
Anyway, crazy times. But yeah, what a political
Statement.
statement for that point, especially considering how we were looking at being an isolationist country
Yeah.
so much at that point, and you know, more than overcompensated later.
Well, they say that's what cost Joe Kennedy the presidency, wasn't it? Because he said to FDR to side with Hitler because they were going to win.
Yeah.
And he was ambassador to us, and he got recalled after that. And that ruined his political career. And he
Dude, you might as well come home. That's
yeah,
not the
sent
way it's going to work.
his sons to their death instead, didn't he?
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a different thing.
PT 109. folks.
History.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. History. Great. There's some great history out there. There's some great books on history. I love the thing that made me want to do this episode today is I was on Facebook and I had a fellow comic writer up there asking anybody if they knew any books on Appalachian African American folklore.
Wow.
And I said, road trip. You need to drive over there and visit the little tourist shops and see if you can find, because every locale, every little location around every tourist area, and the Appalachians have the Cumberland Gap, and there's some great scenery and great parks out there to see. Usually do their own self-published publications that have to do with local history, local folklore, or local mythology. It's also why I was kind of hoping Mitch would be on today, because he knows a lot of that stuff from that area, and I bet he's got a lot of books that have that in it. And in my travels, I love picking up the little homemade books. You know, some of them are saddle stitched, some of them aren't. Some of them are very professionally written, and some of them aren't. Some of them have look like great books, and some of them are just almost the equivalent of pamphlets. So I've got a lot of stuff to show off. If you want to look at, like, there's an entire series of Michigan off the beaten path out there, of the oddball ghost towns and different places that you can go see with a small hike or driving out on the country roads and to take a look at in Michigan. We drove up into the thumb area of the state, up in here, about the middle of the thumb of the mitten, because Michigan, the lower peninsula looks like a mitten, the upper peninsula looks like a rabbit, but that's a whole nother story. We went up into the thumb area to take a look at some pictoglyphs that were up there. That somebody, there was a big fire. Michigan was really huge for lumbering in the 1800s. They started at the southern Michigan border and deforested the entire state pretty much right from the bottom up. And there's very little of that land that was left alone, left to be pristine. There was a rich family up in the middle of the lower peninsula that preserved about 50 to 100 acres of it and made everybody lumber around it. And they would go through and chop these trees off and leave them in where they fell. And then they would brand them with their company logo, like you would brand a cattle.
Yeah.
And there was a book out like that, or on the different brands that these different mill companies had in order to keep track of their lumber, the lumber they cut down, got their own personal brand, and then got shoved into the river and floated to the mill, or dragged to the river and floated to the mill, or wheeled to the river. It's a big trade there for many years up here. We supplied the wood for most of the world at that point. And that's why all the furniture makers are out of Grand Rapids and, the lower states. There's kind of known in places for their woodworking. But it's just fascinating to sit and read that. And I've got a lot of little local books about local history, different aspects of it, the lumbering industry and the shipping industry, especially along the Great Lakes. There's all sorts of ghost stories and tales of shipwrecks, and let me find that.
Very cool.
Mackinac Island is another example. If you're familiar with that, it was originally U.S.'s first state park, but they ended up giving, or not state park, but first national park. But they ended up giving it back to the state because it was easier for them to handle. That was after they got rerun over by the British during the War of 1812, I think it was. It was the only patch of the United States that we lost. and then had to go back and regain. But originally they would use Mackinac Island, the natives would, as burial. It's in the shape of a hump, almost a turtle. They would call it the Great Turtle. And they would bury their people there. And when I was up there one year, I noticed that there was a haunted carriage ride at night. That anything for a tourist trap kind of thing. And I said, I was downtown Mackinac talking to a couple of the locals, and one of them was a local policeman. And I said, "Oh, Mackinac Island's haunted." And he looked at me funny. He says, "Son, it says this entire place used to be Indian burial ground." I says, "It's got lots of ghosts."
A poltergeist.
Lots of weird occurrences and strange things happening, and it's a lot of fun. Michigan legends, folk tales, and the lore of the Great Lakes. It's a fun book. Ghostly road tour around Michigan's Upper Peninsula just to catch the ancient Yooper ghosts. Shipping disasters, Great Lakes collisions, wrecks, and disasters.
That's awesome.
That's a great. There's a shipwreck museum, in fact, up in the Upper Peninsula. That is phenomenal. They have a lighthouse, a still working lighthouse up there with a museum.
That shipping book there you got there with wrecks and stuff like that. What did you use the research for that on?
I've been reading all sorts of back history. I haven't done anything in comics about it, but I've made notes. There is a for a screenplay. There was the equivalent of a tornado up here in the 1920s. Not a tornado, I'm sorry, equivalent of a hurricane on the Great Lakes in the 1920s. And there's a set of shipping incidents that happened that would make a phenomenal movie. It'd be very expensive to film, but it would make for a very interesting movie. And there was one chain of ships that was about a half a dozen big. And back then we would move iron ore. We still do through the Great Lakes, but we would move iron ore and other raw materials across the Great Lakes, usually from Duluth, Minnesota, through the Great Lakes down to Pennsylvania or New York to have it smelted and worked up. And there was a convoy of about a half a dozen or so ships that went through this hurricane, and all of them went down except one. And the captain of that ship realized what was happening, and he had lost communication with the ship in front of him and the ship behind him. So he basically said, "Screw this," and he took the ship and he drove it into the bank of the of Michigan. He just took the ship at a 90-degree angle and intentionally drove it up on shore and saved everybody.
Wow!
And then they had a big what do you call that, court-martial trial over the fact that he did it.
So he got in trouble for saving his ship.
Yeah. Got in big trouble for saving his. He was the only one that survived. And that's because he basically said, "Screw it," hit the motor, turned the ship directly onto shore and beached it.
Wow.
And got in trouble.
Yeah.
Sounds about right, doesn't it?
But yeah, it would make a great movie. Anyway. But
one of my favorite songs is about a wreck. I believe is in the Great Lakes, the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Oh yeah, that was on Lake Superior. Yeah, Gordon Lightfoot.
That was at Lake Superior.
Yeah, it's almost at the end of Superior. I think he would have made. I think he said in the song they say you'd have made Whitefish Bay if they put 15 more miles on the ship. They'd have kept going. But he got caught between two waves, is what they figure, and he had such a large shipment of iron ore at that point. It was an incredibly huge ship. It was one of the biggest ones on the lake, and it just snapped and fell.
How deep is the lake?
It's the deepest lake in the world. Lake Superior is. Where they were at wasn't as deep as the deepest part, but they said if you take all the water out of Lake Superior, you'd be able to cover the world in about 1.5 foot of water. I think it's 1.5 feet. There's a certain amount of water that you'd be able
That's
to cover
impressive.
the entire world with, because there's so much. When the glaciers went through and melted, that's where the majority of the fresh water started from. As they pulled back, they dug out and made the lakes.
Wow.
And
It's really quite impressive.
It's
that,
very
you know,
fascinating to get into.
Ice caused a gigantic
Yeah.
hole in the.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a period of just of hardcore warming real fast, and the glaciers pulled back in a hurry, and then melted, and the water filled in what is the Great Lakes now. So a lot of fun.
So I
Very
don't have
fascinating
a.
stuff. Up in Munising, where we're go ahead, Whiskey. I didn't mean to cut in on you.
Oh, no worries. Nice. So I don't have a specific book right now, but I have one pulled up for later. But when I was doing research for a lot of my like the miniatures and stuff that I do for the game that we have in development, I spent months and months and months going to like different museums, studying the suits of armor, weapons and stuff in museums, doing sketches, looking behind them, and I'd have like these I guess what you call guides or people security, whatever, and I'd be like, because there's a display and usually it's front facing, and there are very few of them in the museum that there would be like you face around the back, and I'd be trying to like lean, put my face against the glass just to, because there's very few photos of the actual rear of these armors as well. It's hard to get accurate like representation. So my like face is against the wall, and I'm trying to look at behind the thing, and they're like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah.
Sketching.
Was that you, Whiskey?
Oh, that was me.
O'Connell saying good morning, gently reminding me to send you a link. Yeah.
That would be it. Yeah.
Yeah. Good morning, nerds. Indie Comics Network. Nita's in the house. Good morning, Nita. Hello, everybody. Ephraim's in the house. Ephraim.
Give me another
Marvy in the
one.
house. Greetings,
Oh.
everyone. Greetings, Marvy. How you doing? Hope you're doing good. Well, in Michigan's got an upper and lower peninsula, and the upper peninsula for the longest time was known for its desolation. And the bridge that they built, Mackinac Bridge, between the lower and upper peninsula, kind of solved a bit of that. Usually you crossed in the winter when the lakes were frozen, or you took a ferry across from point to point. But in the upper peninsula, they're called Yoopers, and they've been up there for so long, they've got their own language. So I've got a Yooper English dictionary here of different terms that folks up there use, and how it translates.
What's a? I don't even know that. What's a Yooper?
A Yooper is somebody from the UP, the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And this
Looks
is
like
the
Michiganese.
Yooper's glossary. It's a little almost ash can put
it
together.
looks like a Robert Crumb drawing, doesn't it?
It does almost. Yeah. That's that great line work.
Diapers.
But yeah, they list all sorts of funny things here. The 15-2, they play cribbage up there. They eat meat pasties. They bowl a lot. They spend most of their year indoors, trying to stay warm. It's nasty and cold up there during the winter. During the summer, during the spring, it's amazing. Spring
It's
and fall,
cold, eh?
It's cold, eh? Yes,
Yeah.
it's cold, eh? Yep.
Yeah.
But there's all sorts of different slang terms. They call all of us in the Lower Peninsula trolls because we live under the bridge.
That's funny.
Yeah. We're all trolls, and they're all Yoopers.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Okay.
Up there.
I was going to say, there's no wonder there's so much trouble. Everybody calling everybody everything.
Yeah.
Oh, you're Pedro.
So I got a book here. Oh, hey, baby.
Pedro,
Pedro,
morning. How are you?
Morning.
Hey, Pedro.
We're talking
Hey,
about books we use for research.
Oh, I have a couple of those.
There you go. We all have a couple of those.
Mm-hmm.
You were saying, Whiskey?
So I got a book here I pulled up. right here called it's Rob Willis. When me getting into 2D drawing from 3D, and this is what Rob Willis.
There you are. Yes.
Recommended to me, right?
Frame perspective.
By I can never pronounce his name, but Marcos Matsura, whatever. You can see it there, and it's got all this kind of like really.
How long ago was that out? That looks amazing.
It's actually not sure when it came out. I don't know when was the publishing date, but it is amazing. Like it really is quite helpful for like you can't imagine the amount of stuff and information in these two books. And they have another one too called Framed Ink as well. But yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. And this is what Rob Willis recommended to me. So I've been studying this and trying to get a theory of like perspective down and drawing in 2D but like thinking about it from a 3D kind of environment, and which is exactly what perspective is.
Yeah, the latest printings on that are November of 2016. Both of them are still listed on Amazon.
I highly recommend buying
That
it
is
if you've
awesome.
never checked it out.
Yeah, that looks great.
Mhm.
Looks great. The book they have on that list underneath that, I've got a copy of. Let me find it here.
Yeah, you can.
That's a hassle with a big book poop. Nope, not that one. Oh, I just had it here.
Between the two books, though, they got everything in there from the the like drawing grids, perspective, 1 point, 2 point, 3 point, and so on. Plus, they have like composition. Then the ink, the framed ink book, which is the third book the guy put out, and I think they have two of those as well. They have lighting and all that stuff for comics. So like it really is like a crash course in that's the one there. Yeah, he has it.
Yeah.
That's
It's an amazing book, and it's
Yeah.
not one I've spent enough time in, but it is absolutely amazing.
Don't you
And
guys
different inking
find?
techniques?
Don't you find that you know a lot of this stuff anyway?
Yes, but
Because I remember I've got a book here. It's always been remarked upon at school and everything that I used to draw in perspective or use perspective. This is when I was sort of 10 or 11, 12. And then when I was 30, I decided I did this the wrong way, back to front. I used to draw perspective and I can draw perspective. But I decided to teach myself the theory of it, of what I was doing.
sure.
So I got that. And it didn't really.
Hang on. Blowing you up. There you are. Perspective drawing.
It didn't really.
Oh, Norling. Yeah, Norling's big as far as instructional books go. Yeah.
Yeah, it didn't really tell me much that I didn't already know.
Sure.
I was just teaching myself the theory of what I did instinctively.
Mhm.
I don't know whether that sounds bad or not, but that's
No,
the
not
truth.
really.
It's
No,
the truth.
I pick up what you're saying. Absolutely.
Not really,
Yeah.
man. Like the way I see it, it's not the fact that you know it already. It's always good to go back and books you've already read, because you always discover new things. So it's perfectly fine to say like, I already know this. That doesn't mean you can go back, revise, and say like, oh, there's this.
Well,
there's
that's it.
always something.
I went
Yeah.
back and taught myself why I was doing it,
Exactly.
not how to do it.
Yep.
It's actually really impressive because, like, what was up until a certain point in history, they couldn't even draw perspective, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not. I've heard that about the Egyptians. I'm not sure about that because your eyes do perspective.
Yeah.
I'm not sure whether that's a bit of the myth. That's just my
I think
opinion.
they've always played with 3-dimension.
of course,
working.
Yeah. Look at the pyramids and stuff. You can't.
It's kind of hard to chisel though.
Yeah.
Well,
Chisel in perspective. That's kind of like.
So you think it was just a style of painting
Pretty
that
much
they did?
sculpting.
They just
yeah, I'm
it's like
pretty
all
sure.
of the early medieval art is all flat and
All those hieroglyphics are graffiti anyway. Those
Yeah,
pyramids
could you
were there
imagine?
long
That's
before
right.
they got there.
Well, if you look at the,
Yeah.
have you guys heard of the Bayeux Tapestry?
The which one? The what?
The Bayeux Tapestry. Bayeux is a town or city in France, and 1,000 years ago, when William the Conqueror came over and
Yeah.
conquered Britain or England or whatever it was,
Yeah.
the women produced this thing called the Bayeux Tapestry, and it's 60 feet long, and it's done on linen, and it's all stitched, and it's all the story of the invasion, and that's all in sort of 2 dimensions, like the hieroglyphics, and that's because of the surface they're working on. Surely, I can't imagine how you'd make things look with 3-dimensional with linen and stitching and stuff. Maybe you can, I don't know, but I think there's a lot of to do with the hieroglyphics, like we said. I think that was a style of drawing rather than they couldn't do. Or show perspective.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion. I don't go with this.
Because they would have had to have had like some sort of blueprint that they would work off of, drawn on papyrus that would have dimensional drawings, perspective on it, wouldn't it?
So what the internet's telling me here is that it was originally or allegedly devised about 1415 by architect Philip Pio, his name is just it's got a couple P's in there, Bernla Shelley or something, and between 1377 14, I don't know what the other thing is.
Well,
okay, but 1415, 1400.
If it's on the internet, it must be true.
There you are.
I mean, well, it's likely been researched, but it seems to be like I looked up the first perspective drawing in history. I don't know. Something could be lost, but yeah, you know.
I don't go with it, but you know, I'm not.
There is a framed ink too. Well, everybody's going to argue over history because nobody was there.
Yeah,
all we have is what everybody else tells us. So yeah, it's all like that. Like that time in class where the teacher tells the student in the front desk something and then tells him to relay it all the way to the back of the room, and by the time it gets to the back of the room, it's totally different.
Speaking about books that inspire us, well, this is not like a book on drawing, but more of a book on the mental process when you draw. This one.
Oh yeah, I've not read that, but I've seen that.
Yeah, drawing on the right side of the brain.
Yeah, it's really good book.
We talked about that in episode or 2. I'm trying to make you larger there. There you go. You're a little fuzzy this morning.
Yeah, no, it's my camera. It's acting out. It was
on the right side of the brain.
Yeah.
That book's always in print too. So
yeah.
Interesting, Pedro, that you bought a book in English. I'm sure you can read English. You're clever, but that must be great because there's so many things I'd have bought if I could speak Spanish and German. I didn't bother because I couldn't.
The thing is like for scientific stuff, it's easier to get the books in English because get the translation unless it's like a Spanish guy or somebody from Latin America who's the author. Then I'll get the book. But if the book is in English, I'll get it in English right away. The thing is like Panama, it's a very bilingual country.
Right.
Because we had the U.S. here for like 100 years, so a lot of people speak English, and having access to English books is really easy. This is another like from a completely different angle, and this is more animation related, but
can't read the title of that.
The Illusion of
Life
by
Donnie
Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson.
The Illusion of Life. Yeah. Okay.
This book is kind of hard to get nowadays, but dude, it's basically like the golden age of discovery in Disney. So you'll see who Ward Kimball is, like Frank and Ollie Johnson, all the discoveries they did, like how they inserted anatomy into animation, because before his name was Fred Moore, it was all like rubber hosing. So everything looked like a hose. And then it's like, no, like the human body has articulation. They speak about that process and how they started with Snow White, like basically evolved in animation. And without them, we wouldn't have anime today. Now, if anything, this is another one that's really important. The Animated Survival Kit.
That's a really good one.
By Richard Williams. And with this book, it's basically like basic exercises on how to animate. And basically, you see Richard Williams like whine about how hard it is and how he lost his movie, but it's a really good book for like for animation and basically like tells you like, okay, you have to, if you want to animate properly, you have to do some live drawing. So you need to study like volume and
you need to know how the muscles work, don't you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Movement and all that kind of stuff.
So yeah, this is a very very good book, even if you don't want to be an animator. And these are books I don't have here. There's another one called the Bridgman's Drawing Manual. I know you guys are familiar with
Oh
that.
yeah, Bridgman is very big as far as
Mhm.
teaching anatomy and life drawing.
Yeah. And the other one is Glenn Vilpul. I don't know why he's not bigger, but dude, that guy just blew my head off when I got acquainted with his manual, because it's just like the same as Bridgman, but it applies to movement. And
Mhm.
dude, that guy, I mean, I've been told like he's a little bit cryptic, maybe, but give it like a month with Vilpul drawing manual. He has a website also. Like you can enroll in their courses, but they're like $900. But that guy will allow you to make those poses like you know where it's coming and you know where it's going, like completely dynamic. That's Vilpul.
Somebody else that's big in instruction, art instruction. It's
Oh
Hogarth.
Yeah.
yeah.
Dynamic
Burn
figure.
Hogarth.
Dynamic figure drawing book. He's done a series of books. Here's my first dynamic figure
Yeah.
drawing book. Just
Look at that.
decimated.
That's
Yeah.
that's real, isn't it? That?
I ran across this at a show, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, gotta have it. It's got a beautifully
Those Burn
laminated
Hogarth,
dust cover and all of that. Yeah.
those Burn Hogarth books. There was series, wasn't there? They were.
Yeah.
They also
were
do
all-
them in trade, and they're always in print. Usually, I think they're all available over
I
on
was gonna
Amazon.
say, I
They're all
saw.
dynamic light and shade, dynamic figure drawing, dynamic hands, dynamic folds. There's all sorts of great books
Mhm.
by Hogarth.
Mhm.
I didn't mean to cut you off, Glenn. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that I saw them in Forbidden Planet many years ago, and I was going to buy the set, and I went back the next week, and they'd all gone, and they've
Damn.
never been in again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can get them on Amazon, Glenn.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're all available on there in trade paperback.
Yeah.
Where he's covering
The thing is, like,
all
I have
sorts of
my
different subjects.
I have my history with Burn Hogarth.
Wow.
Because the thing is, like, my animation teacher for some reason hated him.
There's a lot of hatred for Hogarth out
Yeah.
there. I'm not quite sure why.
I
think
don't
it's-
see it either.
I think it's
Yeah.
called jealousy. I think.
Probably.
Maybe.
I'll go with
Probably.
that.
But we were like completely like
He's
steer away
taught-
from
he's taught
Hogarth.
drawing.
This stiff. I was like, I don't see
Many
that.
years.
I'm going to have to get those.
One of the next comics by night that we'll do. I've got a couple of his Tarzan adaptions that Hogarth did. He did two hardback books, one on Tarzan of the Apes itself, and one on Return of Tarzan. And the Tarzan of the Apes book is just amazing. It's very much like Hal Foster's Prince Valiant, where you have a beautiful drawing with a set of text next to it.
There's
Following
another
the
thing.
story.
Like I
Can
hear
we,
a lot.
It's just a great book.
There's another thing I hear a lot around the community that people are afraid of horses.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah.
going over like, oh, that's hard. Okay, I have a picture book. They're not really drawings; it's plaques. They're done by Edward Muybridge. It's called Animals in Motion.
Okay.
And this book, it's basically like really fast pictures of animals moving, and you'll basically see, because mainly what I see is like people draw the horse properly, but they don't know the mechanics of how horses move,
Sure.
and that's what looks weird.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you see, you get when a horse is scampering, these are the poses.
Mhm.
You get like 10 poses, like 10 to 11 poses of the horse scampering, and then you get like from different perspectives.
Mhm.
So
That-
if you know how to draw through the form,
Yeah.
you can draw the horse in any pose with practice.
And I'll bet that book's been around for
Oh,
generations.
dude, this was done in like 1900s. I'm gonna look for. I mean, and I can show you why. Like I'm looking for a picture now.
Because I would imagine anybody who's done a Western strip or any type of Western comics has got that book, because they
Yeah.
have to have it.
They have to.
Unless it's modern and you've got the internet where you can just call it up on
Yeah.
Google Images or Bing or
Mhm.
whatever. But a book like that would be priceless for
Oh,
folks.
yeah,
like
dude.
that.
Like,
I bet
I bought it.
Mobius had that book
Yeah. I bought it because I had to.
and referred to it.
I had an
frequently.
animation school, so
Mhm.
I had it for reference in the library.
There you go.
But, and this is like the books I have here. I have more books at my parents' house. But I'm looking for a flag. Like if you do this today, you would be put in jail. But it will open your mind as as an artist, because he just like comparative bone structure of a quadruped animal with a human. Like we share the same amount of bones.
Mhm.
So he got himself a kid with polio, and he basically took pictures of the kid. Mm. I don't know if this is gonna get the channel struck, but hey, it's been around.
As long as there's nothing indecent on it, we could probably.
So you see, like, here's a kid,
Yeah.
and you can compare your anatomy to that of a horse and say, like, okay, what's happening?
Okay.
Mhm.
Bones
Right.
get longer or shorter,
Yeah.
but they're the same bones.
Right.
So, and dude, like that to me, like, opened up, because, dude, when they really like scared us, like, okay, guys, we're gonna animate a horse, and everybody was scared. It was like a month and a half of work, and that book saved my life. Because
Okay.
it was just like, okay, this is what's happening. And yeah, right now, like, I can draw a horse, no problem, like,
Mhm.
and animate it, no problem. But it is hard.
Once you
Or-
do it enough, you dig it into the back of your,
Mhm.
back of your memory. It becomes instinctual.
Yeah,
and
you
just,
burn it.
What I can tell you
Run it.
for certain is horses are extremely difficult.
Yeah.
They're a bastard to, even in
Exactly.
3D, even when you
Mhm.
already have a model,
Yeah.
Mhm.
they're a bastard to like they're
Rough to get right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the thing. Like,
Yeah.
right now, that's a gallop pose. Like, I can tell it right away.
yeah.
It's galloping, and okay. My only objection, I don't know, like, I don't want to critique your work at all,
No,
but
it's miniatures. It's fun.
yeah, my only objection is that, like, the back paw should be further up front a little bit,
This one?
because
Yeah,
because
later.
both paws on the front are falling already, and horses fall with their back paws first,
Mhm.
as opposed to any other animal. That's why, like, horses are so graceful. Like cats, dogs, they run with their front paws first, so it's like an accordion moving. When a horse
Okay.
runs, the back paws fall first, so that will give you a circular motion in the hips and an up and down seesaw motion on the chest, and that's why it's like graceful, as opposed to a cat. Like, it's a different kind of grace when you see a cat run. But aside from that, dude, awesome job, man. Like, good proportion. I like the details on the tail. It's really hard to get.
Yeah.
And good work, man. Good work.
Oh, thank you.
And when talking
they're-
about that inking book, Marv says he's got that one on the
Yeah.
list. Says,
There you go.
drawing with the dark side of my brain is my thing.
Especially if you're
Hello.
doing porn. Yeah, that was
Mike?
coming up.
Hello, Mike. How you doing? Hope you're doing well.
Ah, Mike.
What's up, Michael?
Marv says I'd rather read books than online, but they are expensive. Yep.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Michael. All right.
Well, you can also do the whole, go check things out in person as well. Grab a sketchbook. That's what I do.
Always.
Museums.
Oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Yep.
That happened to me. Like, I went to the horse track, and I paid a little bit. Like, and I go to the stables and draw horses. If you don't have the prior knowledge, it's gonna be a nightmare.
Yeah.
Because you're trying to capture the moment, and then, like, the legs are gonna be all over the place. The legs of the horse. That's the only thing I would, like, refrain. If regarding horses, like everything else, like, just it's out. It's
Horses
really
are a pain in the ass.
Yeah,
you
they
can't
are.
just see it either. You have to witness it, study it. You have to look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
it for long
prior
and
That's a
really
prior
know,
study.
like you said, how they run and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
It also helps
Absolutely.
to get anatomy of the like, not just the picture of it, like, moving and stuff. That of course that's going to help, but also the bone structure, muscles.
Yeah.
sinew,
Actually, I
connective
have
tissue.
the best ugly book for drawing animals, because if you see the cover for it, you'll think that this book sucks. But give me a second. Be right back. Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst ourselves.
Back in the 80s, when I was producing a comics line, one of the artists I was working with, we were talking, and he said that Jack Kirby didn't know anything about muscle structure and perspective.
Yeah.
And I
This
said,
is the one.
go ahead, finish that. Go on, carry on.
We pop that open here. How to draw
So,
horses. How to draw
Jack
animals.
Ham. Jack Ham.
Jack Ham. Yes.
Jack Ham is an awesome artist, but this cover is shit. I hate it. But dude, it's like very structural, and I mean, you can tell like this book has been used and reused. But It's just like it was structurally teach you how to like distribute the masses and how to come up with the dynamic poses for any animal.
And I think a lot of the handbooks are still in print for the most part. I picked up one that's
Ooh,
when I was a kid, cartooning the head and figure. This is like my third version or my 3rd volume of this book because you study it so much it just falls apart.
yeah.
But yeah, I tell everybody it's a 50s cartoonist. It's old school, and that's the best school, you know.
Yeah,
And
dude.
he talks
Those
about
colors,
all
man.
of the old techniques, all of
Yeah.
the how to over exaggerate. Talks about all the different noses that you
There
can
you
use.
go.
Can you
Just
still pick,
how to make somebody look relaxed, how to draw women, you
Mhm.
know, how to over exaggerate things.
How to draw women, how to talk to them,
How
everything.
everybody's
How to
got
talk.
different body types and shapes
Mhm.
that you need to look at, and he just goes through and lists all sorts of different examples. I used to use it for my cartooning class because
cool.
he would go through. There's a directory here on eyes, eyebrows, noses, and how you can cartoon the
Dude, that's
craziest of
so
things
50s, man.
with
Love
just
it.
That's awesome.
a couple of curves.
Yeah.
I love teaching that in
Yeah.
school because these kids, I can only draw stick figures, that kind of thing.
No, Randy,
It's amazing what you can do with lines and
what
squiggles.
I really find annoying, Randy, when people call styles dated.
Yeah,
Oh, that's old. That's
Yeah.
dated. It's like, dude, if it's well done, it's well done.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's so true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
just
And he
shut
goes
up.
through
Whenever
and
I see
shows.
the pleasure stuff,
Yeah.
people are like, "Oh, it's dated." I'm like, "It's amazing."
He
Yeah.
goes through and shows different techniques, different
Ah, dude,
styles,
look at
different
that.
ways of inking,
Dude,
different
that cubist
tools to
approach
use.
on figure number 6. It's just
Fleischer.
awesome,
Gotta
dude.
find
Like,
it. Oh yeah, there.
yeah, like I would love to make
Oh,
like
yeah.
an animated short with that kind of like
Yeah.
strong like outline.
Are there any books by people like Jack Davis and Mort Drucker in that doing that?
I've never seen any
No,
There
I don't think they
there
did.
should be.
because there
Yeah,
should be a caricature book by Drucker out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But I
Too
don't
late.
think we took
I
the
don't
time
think he
to
ever
do
did.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing with Davis.
Mhm.
So I got a little side anecdote here. Speaking about research, we're talking about how to talk to women, right? The best advice I can give young men in the universe out there, since we're doing, is what I call the spin, right?
Oh, this will be good.
Spin.
Yeah,
So what
the
you do is you find the lady that you would like to get the attention of.
Mhm.
You approach openly and calmly, relaxed, have a nice smile on
Obviously.
your face.
Hands
That's
on
the
your
battle
thighs.
right there.
Be a gentleman, and then
That's
you offer
that's also the battle in a lot of guys. So yeah, go ahead.
you offer your hand
Uh-huh.
into a handshake, right?
Uh-huh.
Now you need to be in a bar environment or somewhere where there's dancing for this to happen, and needs to be some kind of music playing. As you take the hand of the lady, you
Mhm.
then gently spin her into a dance move, and then you're
Hmm.
suddenly dancing. If she accepts the dance, you now have yourself a wonderful evening. If she doesn't accept the dance, you then politely say, "Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to bother you," and then you move on.
That's if you don't take the rest of the day with a
Yeah.
hand uh,
A
print
handprint?
on the side of your face. Yeah,
Yeah.
a handprint on
I
the
would
side of your
say
from being
that's a-
slapped.
That or find yourself in handcuffs.
Yeah, my
That-
only
yeah,
my,
yeah,
my
that's
only
true, too.
advice is don't be hideous. And that's
I would
about
say
it.
the spin works
Again,
about
really rough for a lot
90%
of
the
guys
time.
to do.
Yeah, don't be hideous. And try not to
Don't be
smell
Don't be
so
hideous.
bad. And yeah, that's half the battle. Not be smelly, not being ugly. And then
Cartoon
you're
instructional
off to the
books off camera. Glenn and I were talking about
Ah,
comic
dude,
and
yeah.
sequential art by Will
Will
Eisner. Yep.
races. Back to what we know.
Back to what we know. Also great as opposed to trying to break the ice. Yeah, and Eisner goes through and uses a lot of examples of his
Yeah.
own work and points out why he did what he did and
Yeah.
how he did it.
Ah, dude, the spirit.
It's
Is
just
there a
beautifully
collected?
done.
Can I get a collected edition of the spirit? Does that exist?
There are a number of collections out there. There's DC went through and did a whole 26 volume archive in hardback
Oh,
Yep.
of all of the spirit work that Eisner did. just
I'm
to
gonna look
just
that
to
up.
keep it. And I think they did it right before he passed too, or right
Mm.
during the time that he passed, just in order to have for collectors like us to have full record of it. Let me take the bookmark off of this. This is also another great Eisner book. He did a number of these. This is on expressive anatomy for comics and narrative,
Mm.
and that goes in and talks about emotion and body language, that kind of thing,
Oh, very cool.
and how to best to have it service your story.
Yeah.
There's a whole set of course, breaking things down
Yeah.
into blocks.
That's
and tubes.
straight out of Richmond, though.
Yeah, it is very much so. But showing emotions, pulling on
Mhm.
the different muscles of the face.
Oh
It's
yeah.
also Bridgman, and how to over exaggerate it as well for comics. And
I should
How
pick that
about
one up.
how about inspirational books?
well, there's a lot of that is the like the little locally published books that I've gotten. There's a lot of inspiration in there.
Yeah. 'Cause, I mean, my book inspiration, like I got it secondhand. It was battered, and it was like almost $200.
Which book?
Wow.
The best animator in the world, Glenn Keane, and his
Hang
work
on,
in
Let me
Tarzan.
blow that up.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And his
Oh,
work
look
in
at that. Yeah.
Tarzan.
Oh, that book is amazing.
Okay.
Yeah, when he was assigned Tarzan, he basically went number 2 in his pants and took a 2-year sabbatical in France to study life drawing, to basically being able to animate the naked human body properly. 'Cause
Okay.
that's Tarzan, and dude, just going through what he went through, just he was already amazing. Like he did the Eagle and the Rescuers Down Under. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Okay. Yeah.
Like that eagle, that's like an animator's nightmare watching that, and he did it. So he was already great. And when he said Tarzan, he's like, I can't do this, and he just took 2 years off, and he's like, I'll be back, like the
Did it.
Terminator.
Yep.
And dude, when he came back, he animated Tarzan. Like his keys are just insane. But I'm looking specifically for like his animation teacher like went over his drawings and put like the muscle groups to show him what was happening. And dude, that's also like a big eye opener to everybody who enjoys drawing. Like, okay,
I love those kinds of challenges and jobs and stuff you get where you're just
Yeah.
like, here's a commission for you or whatever, and you just you don't know it, but you got to research it and learn it to do it, and you're like, I can do this. But
yeah,
you
dude,
bullshit
it's
it,
really good
just-
to go from time to time. You know what I mean? Oh, here it is. This is what I'm talking about. Like he did the drawings, and then his live drawing teacher went over his drawing the muscles individually, like because muscles only contract. They don't exert they don't exert strength by extending. So basically, all our muscles have a contrary muscle that will contract to make the opposite movement. So when you have a pose, if you know what you're doing, you know what each muscle is doing, and that's what like his live drawing teacher was doing for him. Like even in the face.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can see this. It's getting my camera is doing.
Yeah, your camera's really bad today.
Yeah, it's doing stupid stuff. But yeah, man, this is another book that if you can get, like, this is definitely out of print. It's very expensive, but if you can find it, just make the investment, man, because it's just not only the art but the journey he went through. It's just like, yeah, I love art.
Invaluable.
Yeah.
Invaluable. Yeah.
I like to watch a lot of. Sorry, I cut you off there, Allison.
No worries. There's a book that I got. I have the production guide for what was it, Into the Spider-Verse, and it's
Oh,
amazing.
really? I bet that's cool.
It's in my closet. I'm not going to try to get it right now.
There's so much cool
Well
stuff out there
Yeah.
to get. Yeah. I've got a book here that very few people are aware of that was out for a very short period of time.
I've got
Tips from the top cartoonists.
Yep,
Oh,
I've got
cool.
that.
Damn.
Be a
That's very
cartoonist.
cool.
They went
Yeah.
to individual big names of the day and asked them their their techniques and secrets. There's Alfredo Alcala there.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, look at that, man.
Yeah. I want to
That-
see him working on that.
Great
That's a
two-page,
new
yeah.
world for me. Like going into detail is like I'm a rough animator by trade, so I'm just like used to capturing the movement and moving on, and give that job to somebody else. And now that I'm making comics, like this is like I know how it's done, but doing it is,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just like
Yep.
wow,
just
The level of
incredible.
time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is the book. This is a book that I go through every couple years or so,
Mhm.
and I'm always pulling new material out of it.
Yeah,
It's always like, why didn't I? Somebody who has a shortcut or has an inking technique or
Mhm.
a particular thing to do, or you take your rapidograph and you do this to it, and you can get this, and all sorts of notes and details like that. It's just amazing. And I don't think this book is in print at all. In fact, mine's all beaten and
bruised.
beaten and bruised.
Forgive my
This was,
ignorance. What's a rapidograph?
Rapidograph is an ink pen that
Mhm.
lays down a constant stream of ink onto the paper. It's a technical pen.
Oh, okay.
It's what a lot of architects use and a lot of artists used to use for
There you
their
go.
stuff. There,
There you
Glenn's,
go.
Glenn's
has
got
it
a
up.
set handy here. Yeah.
Mhm.
See that? And it's put your ink in there, right? And you've got a really fine nib. You get different sizes.
Spent hundreds of dollars on rapidographs in my day.
Yeah.
Because they used to love to clog up and
They're
If you weren't-
fragile. They're fragile.
if you weren't careful with them.
My
Yeah.
set of this is from. I bought this set in 1983,
Yeah.
and I've got others from before then. So if you look after things, like we were saying about rulers and things before,
Right.
if you look after things,
You
they'll
keep
last
them for a-
forever. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the
I
mechanics
think-
inside of
think-
that pen, with some of the ink that you would use if you weren't using official rapidograph ink, would
Yeah.
I
harden
think
up
Glenn
in a hurry.
I think Glenn just called us sloppy.
I did. In a nice way, I guess.
There they are. There they are. You see.
1982. This is
I
a-
look after my things.
This is
Right,
this
You
is
gotta
why I
look
went
up.
digital.
No. You
Hold them up
gotta-
again. Hold them up
Okay.
again.
Hold on.
They're all different sizes.
Yeah. Hold on
Right.
your pristine pens. Yeah, do it. It's just
Mhm.
hold them up.
You know, you've got. I don't think I've even used this one. It seems quite clean. But there you go.
Probably haven't used it in 10, 12 years. Yeah.
And you can always tell when they work because they make a noise.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear that?
The little ball,
Yeah.
ball
It's a
bearing.
little
It's
ball
like a little ball
bouncing
bearing.
back
Yeah.
and forth. Yeah.
Mhm.
In order to keep a smooth line.
They're
Mhm.
wonderful things.
Yeah.
They can be good for lettering as well if you're really careful. But I'd rather
Oh, yeah.
have a bit more give in them for
When I'm
lettering.
inking, I go old school.
There
Do
you
what?
go.
When
There
I'm
you go.
inking, I go old school. My Series 7 Windsor Newtons.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I have nothing against the rapidograph. I just really like the way they flow. But I will not. I don't say bad things about them. It's just not for me.
Mhm.
I've been using the rapidograph. I don't use them so much these days, but I started using them in 1968. My brother brought home one of the first released rapidographs because he was a draftsman, did technical drawing, and he needed them for the hard line.
Oh yeah.
So when he showed me his pen, and he nearly, I wasn't nearly here today because I got hold of this pen and used it all the time for my inking on my comics, and he went absolutely berserk, and he was going to throw me out the bedroom window, when I was 12. But but anyway, he didn't. But yeah, they're really good. If you can get hold of some nice new ones, I don't know whether do they still make them, Randy?
I'm sure they do. Yeah.
Yeah, you should get. I would say try them.
Yeah, definitely
Way
try
back-
that.
Way back in the 80s when I was buying them, they were about $28 to $30 a hit to
Yeah,
pen. Yeah. I don't know what they charge for them now.
no.
Probably about $1 million.
Yeah.
No, I don't know. Given inflation, and that's probably in the hundreds, but 120 or so.
I was like,
I would imagine.
for me, given the cost of a lot of these art are like artistic items and whatever else, I don't have a lot of extra disposable income, so I usually do digital. But like, I do have a list of stuff I want to buy when I eventually get disposable income.
You want to get one of these flexi curve.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
That is
those are
something that was on
very
the top
handy.
of the list actually.
This one's actually broken somewhere,
Mm.
but I still use it. You
It's
just
not as
compensate.
flexy as it used to be.
It just depends what you do with it. You just got to make it. You just got to make it work. I mean, I went to buy another one, and I think they were 15 quid, and I thought, well, I'll just use the broken one. It doesn't really matter.
It's a middle-aged flexible pen, flexible ruler.
And again, Pedro, I bought this in about 1982, I think.
Oh, rub it in, Glenn.
You just got to look after things.
I
They're
bought it before you was born. Yeah, I got my flexi ruler around here somewhere, but I used to have it.
Do you know what a ruling pen is?
I got a box of art supplies I haven't used in years.
Do you know what a ruling pen is?
No,
It's like, I can't find it now, but it's like a pen, and you has a little thing on the side, and the blades open, and you get a brush and put ink in it, and you do. It's called a ruling pen. I still use that. I can't find it at the moment, but I still use it. I got that at college in 1973.
I've never seen that at all.
It's called a ruling, or it might be called a mapping pen.
A mapping
pen. Yeah,
I wasn't born yet.
Yeah, dude, that sounds like something they use when
you weren't born when
Steve was-
Jesus was here, but you've heard of him, haven't you? So
yeah.
Yeah, dude, that sounds like something that was used when steam was in vogue. And yeah.
oh well.
That's
And
hilarious.
the street lights were lit by gas.
You should all live as long as me and Randy have and have our experiences, and you can do.
Oh, hey,
Yeah, we'll
I'm
just
living to be
go back in
110.
time, I guess.
Hey, I live in Latin
I'm
America.
only halfway
1 year
through.
here is like 3 of yours. Okay? I see death every day.
Right. Okay.
Speaking of death, here's a research book for you to try to find. Death in Yellowstone:
Oh, there you go.
Accidents and Foolhardiness in the First National Park.
What a great word, foolhardiness, to put on your
Foolhardiness,
title. And your subtitle.
Oh.
This book is great if you want to research what it would be like to fall into a sulfur pit
All right.
or a sulfur pool.
And
This
how
goes into hard detail.
And how
about
do
what
they
was
know? How
discovered.
do they know?
Well, there were people there that
Autopsies.
watched idiots do it.
Oh,
And they find the
That's
bodies.
how they know. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
and they
okay.
find the
Like-
bodies.
Yellowstone is amazing. Everybody should get there at least once in their life, especially. Go ahead.
Just remember, if they offer to take you to the train station, run.
Yeah,
And,
wrong,
like
wrong
somebody asked me,
Yellowstone. But anyway,
like
as you
somebody
go
asked me,
into
like,
the park, they hand you a half a sheet of an
Mhm.
8 by 11 paper that reminds you that the wildlife is wild. Then you
Yeah.
stay the hell away from it. You can look, but
you
300
don't
yards, 30
Don't try
yards
to
at
hit
least
the wolves.
is a pretty good recommendation.
Yeah, don't pet the moose. Try not to hug the bison. Just
Try to hug the
The
Yeah,
one thing
no,
about
like-
moose,
somebody asked me, Pedro, you live in the jungle. Like, why aren't you dead? Because I don't go into the jungle.
I'm
Yeah.
going to the jungle.
Yeah, exactly. Like, but if you have to, like, I'll burn it first.
We're
Plus,
talking earlier about lived experience, like
The
lived
book is-
experience. It's like
this
for
book
me,
is- oh, sorry, whiskey. Go ahead.
I just wanted to get this in quickly. For me, for lived experience, is like I'm looking outside. Is it cold outside? It's cold outside. Okay.
So, like,
Yeah.
staying in.
I was going to say this book is 300 pages long and it's old, and there's been a lot of foolhardiness since then.
Yeah,
I'm
obviously.
telling you. But it is crazy. Oh, there it is. Right there. Here.
I mean, the old like horror movie trope of the crazy coach drunk. Yeah, exactly. See?
Many visitors have been gored by buffalo. Do not approach buffalo.
Don't hug the bison. Like, yeah,
That's a copy of the they still hand that out, a version of that to this day as you go into the park.
Don't go petting
Don't
the
be
bovines.
stupid, basically.
yeah.
And there's
dude.
there's still a half a dozen deaths a year from people that, oh, let's go pet the big cat.
Yeah, a cougar is not a
He's
kitty,
just a-
guys. Just
He's just a big cow.
a big kitty. Yeah.
Look, he's purring, and then he
He's
eats
purring.
little Timmy.
Yeah, it's your face more than likely. Oh, look at the lynx. Have you seen the paws on the lynx? Just
Yeah,
don't.
I've seen a lynx up close.
Yes.
Yes, I have.
Yeah, just don't. There's nothing There's nothing to do there.
Contrary to popular opinion, cow tipping is not recommended.
No,
not
never.
really.
I also have a book on Niagara Falls. Journeys
Nice.
to the Brink of Doom. True stories. True stories of disaster, mystery, and heroism at Niagara
Yeah,
Falls.
dude. Like we have a name for that kind of behavior.
Foolhardiness.
Stupidity.
Stupid.
No, it's really racist. That's why I don't.
Oh, okay. Let's not be racist.
Let's
Yeah.
not go with any racism.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is,
We
like,
don't
but
need to
it's-
piss off Nita that
Yeah, but
much.
the thing is, like, if you see the list of like nature accidents in Panama, you understand why.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say that it's a stereotype that's been validated by history. But I don't want to repeat it. It's just no.
Back when the series was out, I was a big fan of the history of Deadwood.
Mm.
Actually went out there and took a look. Got a book.
Oh damn!
Real Deadwood, True Life Histories of Wild Bill Hickok,
Bill Hickok,
Calamity Jane,
nice.
Outlaw
Oh,
Towns,
that's
and
very
other
cool.
characters, and Lawless West. If they'd have continued Deadwood on for a few more seasons, it would have been very interesting because that town blows up completely once.
Yep.
And just took out the entire gulch.
Ooh.
Somebody was stashing a bunch of gunpowder in the back room of the general store.
Yeah,
Back then,
dude.
everything was made out of wood. And
Hmm.
when it went off, boom.
Yeah.
Just everything
That's
went
another
with it.
thing that I love about the Wild West. That everybody was experimenting with nitroglycerin for some reason.
And gunpowder.
Yeah, and gunpowder. Just like, I have a gunpowder collection. Oh, great.
Mhm. Exactly.
So we're
Yeah, there's
talking,
been a couple times they've had to go through and rebuild the town. It's like the story of the three little pigs. First
Oh,
pig's
man.
made out of straw. Second pig's made out of his house is made out of wood. Third pig builds it out of concrete. Then they get a flood.
Yeah, exactly.
what a town.
What a
Speaking
town.
about being moist, there, you were talking earlier about Niagara Falls. Our side's better, of course, here in Canada than the U.S.
Oh,
but-
the Canadian side, the Canadian part of
Yeah,
Niagara.
It is. It is because
Yeah.
there's so much more. There's so much more stuff to do over there.
Yeah, exactly. But I love Niagara Falls. I've only actually been a few times, but because I have very, very dry skin, and the air is just consistently moist.
Mhm.
Right, so you go over there.
So
And
you've
I'm
not
just
been on
like-
the You've not been on the Maid of the Mist underneath it then.
No, I haven't actually checked it
Oh,
out.
you
I've
oh,
seen
dude,
it.
dude.
though.
that.
You
I've done
love
that
it here
in
in
the
Panama,
falls,
man.
so I've done that with the falls.
Panama Idol's at 88 humidity.
I might like
Wow.
it there.
There was a time you could go under the horseshoe falls through the maintenance tunnels.
No,
We
you
did
can still
that
do that, I think. Right?
way back when. I think they just reopened it up, but for a while there, they thought it was too dangerous. So, but that's pretty crazy to be walking down this carved out hallway, and there's another hallway that goes straight out to the falls, and you can see the water just
Yeah,
falling down. Just amazing.
we did that last time I was there.
Yeah. Which was how long ago? Decade?
No,
Quite a bit.
this 4 or 5 months ago. They just
Oh,
opened it up not too long
Oh,
ago. I
really?
guess.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah. They must have just reopened that up then when you were there. Sweet. Yeah,
So
it's
my
been,
perception
I
of
don't know,
time
it's
is
been a long
skewed.
time. We were just newly married, I think,
Wow,
last
wow.
time we were there. That was about 25, 30 years ago. They had a big museum over on the Canadian side that was about 5 or 6 stories where they had mummies and all sorts of cool stuff in it.
They have
You have mummies in Niagara Falls?
Over
so they
at,
have
on the-
like
they had a guy that was collecting all sorts of stuff, and he made a big museum. Well, the Niagara Falls on the Canadian side has got all of the museums and the restaurants and everything. Over on the American
Tourist
side, there's
traps.
practically real tourist trap stuff. Ripley's
Hmm.
Believe It or Not museum, that kind of thing.
Oh,
And on the American side, all they have is a statue of Tesla that nobody visits or sees anymore. So
okay. Yeah.
yeah, a bronze statue thanking Tesla for setting up the electrical system in the area.
if you've never
Way
been
back
to if you ever do get a chance to get to US Canada, do check out Niagara Falls. It's fun
Yeah.
because you get
Yeah.
both. You're so close that you can just go to one
Yeah.
or the other. But there's a lot of really cool attractions and stuff like that. And
When I was in Canada, I was on the other side of the country. It's fine.
Over in Vancouver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was beautiful though.
Never been
Nice.
to Vancouver. Would love to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you go, don't pet the bears. Just
There you go.
Put the bears.
Well, I know that already. We have bears
Yeah.
around here, so it's
Yeah,
all-
there's like Stanley
Not
Park and
frequent.
people jog there.
We got bears
and-
here too.
Yeah, and they got like
you're in
grizzlies.
Boston, so yeah.
Yeah, it's just nah.
We had one run across the expressway here about, I would think 5-6 years ago. A big black bear.
Yeah, and you know what?
The car didn't make it.
weird? That's weird about bears. That bears are goofy and cute, but they'll just break you in half. So people just have that mix of like, oh, look at the bear. Just, no, run from the bear. Just
And seriously, if you ever get to see one shaved, scariest thing you've ever seen in your life.
yeah, I've never seen a shaved bear. I saw a shaved chimp, and that was scary. Oh,
There we are.
Look at that.
Yep.
We're going to cover Conan's. We'll go with
Nice.
Conan the Avenger.
Conan the Avenger. I love those like yellow page books.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
These are
Yeah.
the Lancer
much.
series stuff, which means if you look at it too hard, it'll fall apart.
Yeah, exactly. You can read it. You'll lose a couple of letters if you stare at it.
Oh, look at that cape.
Yeah, dude.
That's Frank. Frank Frazetta at his best.
Frazetta, dude.
He's just kicking ass at that
Mhm.
point.
Then my other great finds at ReaderCon, a Lensman book I haven't read,
Lensman. Wow.
Dragon Lensman.
There you go.
It's one of the
Mm.
spin-off books.
Yep.
Well, that's I'm going to say that's why it's not a real one.
No, but I haven't read it, so I figured what the heck.
Yeah.
I've read all
I'm sure
the
it's very good.
Doc Smith books. And I also got the Skylark series. So,
Yeah.
Wow.
Cool.
Space.
Doc Smith.
We were just at a used paperback store yesterday, and I was
Oh,
bemoaning the
that's
fact that you
nice.
don't find books like this out in the open anymore. Hardly at all.
Out of
No,
the
not really.
wild.
You have to go. You have to
Yeah,
go hit old paper conventions in order
Dude,
to
that
find
would be a nice like YouTube show, like Books in
Yeah.
the Wild.
Yeah.
Just going out and see what you find. That would be awesome, actually.
They also got some manga that
Oh, yeah, I can see you have Spriggan back there. That's a good one.
It's actually post 1995. It's extremely difficult to find good sci-fi and out there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything's so deconstructed today.
Oh, sorry, I did that.
No.
I got it. Nope.
I didn't do it that time.
Okay.
So,
There we are.
yeah, the what was that? ReaderCon's great. It's basically authors and panels. They had was it Josh Beckenham something? I can't remember his last name. He wrote the book Annihilation. He was one of the big speakers at it.
Cool.
I got to talk to him for a bit, along with some other people that I thought were pretty cool.
What
But
did What did he think of the movie?
what? Oh, he said it's very different.
Yeah.
And it is.
Yeah.
It's very
That is-
different.
That's being very polite,
Yeah.
from what I
For
understand.
one thing,
Being very polite.
the movie names all the characters, where
Uh-huh.
the book doesn't.
Okay.
In the books, they're just known by what they do. Like there's the biologist, which is the lead character, and
Mhm.
Natalie Portman in the movie, her character has a name, which none of the characters are named in the book. And I was joking with him. I said, "So did you do that to basically build more isolation in it, and basically isolation slash an anti-socialness to it throughout it, or did you just do it because you don't name your livestock?" So he laughed at that. His answer basically was that it's the way the government was basically antisocial to it, and basically kind of removed that people were just known by
Mhm.
by what they did.
But their
How they
usefulness.
investigated the area.
Hmm.
If you haven't read Annihilation, it's incredible.
Okay.
It's really good weird fiction. I'm a big fan of it. I haven't read his other stuff yet, but I will be correcting that.
I hear you.
But yeah, it's a great book. And it definitely takes like Lovecraftian horror and loses some of the racism. So it's
I don't know. I've read Lovecraft, and I enjoyed it. Like, I didn't mind.
No, I like Lovecraft. It's just
I know. Like, but
he was racist for the racists. I mean,
Everything you have to take in the context of the day too. 'Cause
yeah, like
Oh,
that's
no,
the
no,
thing, like,
he was beyond the day.
yeah.
there
'cause
was
there
a
were
lot of
people, like-
misunderstanding of
Yeah,
cultural
there were
awareness.
people
back then.
out there who definitely would be considered racist by today's standards who are
Right.
like, really? You're saying that?
Yeah.
He was heavily xenophobic, which is one of the reasons why his stuff is so good.
Hmm.
He had a terrifying fear of air conditioning. So just read Cool Air.
Okay.
I mean, he was a weird cat.
Yeah, I've never read that, but yeah, I'm
But
sure he was unusual. Yeah, eccentric.
you can't argue his effect.
No.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. Like, I separated. Like, I don't want to be his friend. I just want to read his books.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm
Yeah.
the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, I visited his grave and everything. He's not actually buried there, but that's where the headstone is.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be like right across from where I lived in Providence, and he has right on it the on his epitaph, "I am Providence."
Another guy who I love his literature, but I would never like to meet him at all. Edgar Allan Poe. It's like he seems like a weird dude that will weird me out right away.
Yeah, pretty weird.
I enjoy the literature, but I would be like, "Hey, that's Edgar Allan Poe." They go, "Okay," and I would go to the other side of the bar.
I understand he speaks very highly of you, Pedro.
Yeah, he does. I know.
Yeah, he does. He speaks very. Wait a minute. We're not
Yeah,
supposed to tell him that, Glenn.
yeah, but that's the thing. Like, that's inevitable with me because I'm adorable.
He was probably a really nice, quiet guy.
Yeah, probably.
Just liked to drink a lot.
He just
Found
like
dead
taking,
in the streets of Maryland.
he just like taking
on a
his
park
drugs
bench.
and writing
Yeah.
stories, didn't he?
Yeah.
Leave him
Yeah,
alone. I mean,
Yeah.
what, he's dead by 40, wasn't he? Taking heroin and whatever.
Yeah, Lauden and all
Well, that
stuff.
wasn't unusual either, though.
Yeah,
Exactly,
that time
exactly.
that was-
Yeah.
All the times, yeah. Those
Dying
were
by
the
40,
Skittles
yeah.
at the time, yeah.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean,
unrelated to Edgar Allan Poe, we're speaking about
Weird people.
not weird people, but sci-fi that's
Okay.
really interesting. I particularly am a big fan of like fleet-based space or hard sci-fi set in space, dealing with like armadas and space navy kind of stuff. And one of the books that I recommend checking out, quite unrelated to comics at all, is a book called or a book series called The Black Fleet Saga by Joshua Dalzella, and I'm reasonably sure he spent time in the Navy, and it's probably some of the best hard sci-fi out there. It even talks about like using the solar system as like the gravity of it, and how like he looks at it like a well, as you you go down the well and up the well, and use the gravity to actually affect the how far you're traveling and
How fast?
how fast.
And
so,
good, and it's kind of
it's very tense combat. You feel like you're on the bridge, and I really check it out. Black
These
Fleet
books
Saga.
are from like 2015.
What
They're not old.
the book?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's new. It's one of the newer stuff out there that post 1995 that doesn't suck.
I'm gonna
It's
check
actually
it out.
really one of the best series out there. I'd say.
I gotta be completely honest. The last sci-fi book I read was Ringworld, and I really enjoyed that. But that's
They have additionally they have an audiobook for those artists out there that want to check. You can get an audio version that's actually really quite good.
Yeah.
And
for those of you who don't read,
yeah,
audiobook.
Whiskey. Here's a couple of books you should read.
Oh, what we got?
What you got? Encounter.
Are those
Hang on.
Lapitus?
Lapidus, right.
Science fiction books.
yeah, an encounter.
They're
Encounter
written by
and-
me.
I know that.
Well,
chap.
then send me a copy. Jesus.
Illustrated.
Glenn Fleming. Like, I can have like a beer with Glenn
Well,
Fleming.
Hang on.
Yeah.
Make sure you-
Maybe
Go ahead.
one
There you are.
before he weirds me out.
Make sure you sign it.
I can't send you a copy, Whiskey, because not only do you not have your real name up, nobody
Yeah.
knows what you look like and nobody knows where you are. Canada is a big place.
That's true.
Well, there you go.
Just ship it there; they'll figure it out.
I'm not going to sign it to Whiskey. I refuse.
You know what, Glenn? Just tie it to a moose. The moose will find him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
To the moose.
yeah, to the moose.
The moose.
Get the Gorton Moose.
Yeah.
Fine
Moose
whiskey.
Ave, Canada, north of United States.
There you
Yeah. Yeah.
Fine
going.
whiskey.
I do have a mailing address.
Oh, there you go.
Contrary to popular belief, I'm not in a shoebox, hanging out on the side of the road.
Yeah.
We thought you might be in the state pen.
No.
That's a joke.
That's a joke.
We were talking about perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's force perspective. Now,
Oh,
when you see this, it's probably all wrong. But if it looks okay, and I think it looks okay, it's probably right.
Looks right.
Dang.
Yeah, it looks right. There's a couple of details here and there, but it
of
looks
Yeah,
good.
but there's always something that's not right. But what I'm saying is, if it looks okay, then it probably is okay.
Yeah.
It might not just be bang on, But
Right.
But that's the thing. Sometimes in those little mistakes is what makes things unique.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
When you're like completely like mechanically accurate, it tends to be boring.
Yeah.
So it needs that human element. Unless you're doing it with AI, then like all the better off.
Well, then you get 6 knuckles.
Six knuckles and-
Well, if Jack Kirby can draw Reed Richards with his the wrong hand, the left hand on the right arm. Can you see that
Oh
drawing?
yeah, dude!
If
I
he
hate it when
can-
that happens.
If he can do that, and Stan Lee didn't see it, and Joe Sinnott didn't see it, nobody saw it.
Well, that's a
he can
test.
do it.
But that's a test of how dynamic that frame was. That
Yeah.
nobody saw it because it was so cool.
Yeah.
It's like years after, like, hey,
Wait a second.
wait a minute.
So recently, the whole 6 knuckle thing is that there's this, speaking about comics, an ISOM cover, like a fan contest,
Oh
Eric
yeah,
Julie
I
stuff.
saw that.
And one of the entries that's actually really popular is
AI generated.
speculated to be done by AI, right?
Yeah.
What the guy did, like, everybody knows it's AI. They ran it through an algorithm test thing, and they checked it out as AI. You can see that the hands are off. Some of the line work is slightly off. But what he did is he used Clip Studio and did an line extract out of the program to show the line work, and then the AI work, right? And said, "Oh, I actually did this," but the experts are like, "Oh, you're lying," right? Because you look at how it's done, and it's I'll pull it up in a minute if you guys want to talk about.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I would definitely like
It's
to
popular.
see that.
Yeah, I'll check it. I'll find it.
Yeah, I don't know about
I've really
that.
done any research of how they determine things are drawn by AI, aside from usually the looking at it going, that's just
Weird.
Huh?
Yeah. What about them hands?
yeah.
What
The
about
thing
them
is that-
hands? Yeah.
The thing with AI art, I think the problem is that he's saying he did it.
Yeah.
You know, if it's
Yep.
AI art and you want to present like, hey, check out my AI art, that would be like, hey, cool, dude,
Right.
like, no problem. But if you say like,
Yeah,
you
if
did
you
it,
want to say, hey, I did this in AI, it's like, okay,
Cool.
that's all you. I'm not really interested in AI art, but
Yeah,
don't try to
you're a
pass
great
it off
prompter.
as-
You know what I mean? Yeah, you're great with prompts. But the thing is, like, if you sell it as, hey, I did this with my hands, then I have objections.
Yeah,
But in the end, who am I? You do whatever you want. Now, if he wins a contest with AI art, saying that's fraud.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Very much so. Fraud.
especially if you're supposed to draw it yourself.
yeah, exactly. But then again, we come at the conundrum of technology. So somebody's using a tablet. Is that like an unfair advantage to people who are using pen and paper?
I don't think that's an unfair advantage. It's just another tool. It's still
Yeah,
coming out of
exactly.
your head and your hand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, I found the art here. You guys want to take a look here? So here's the it's on. This is the original
Ooh.
artist.
Yeah.
Here we'll go to his page, right? And you can. It looks good at first glance, but then there's some obvious stuff that starts to pop up. It's AI related. Then he did the art, the line extract with Clip Studio, right?
Yeah.
And then people are starting to, if we go back a page here, people are starting to notice the
Yeah.
inconsistencies, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can they start to pick out where it's AI, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the thing is like, whether it's AI or not, I'm not really fond of the posing itself. That back leg is my goo. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
Some
like
of the
Yeah.
some of it I can look to basically just say, yeah, the dude needs to study anatomy, but as soon as you like look into a couple other pieces on it, you're like, all right then, yeah, that's
Mhm.
definitely no.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The back fist is super weird.
Yep.
yeah.
Actually, sit down and look at it. It's like, wait a minute,
I like his
it's like an
costume.
extra
though.
thumb.
Yeah.
And this-
Yeah, no, it's like an
Yeah.
extra thumb, or just like it has like a fleshy membrane between the
Yeah.
index and the thumb. I don't know what's happening there.
That's the fourth finger
Oh, and
there.
that's what ladies like.
I think
I don't know.
That's what really popped it out. Both of those hands are horrible.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
both
the,
hands
the,
are
the entire drawing is bad. Don't get me wrong, because
Yeah.
the anatomy on that, the foreshortening sucks.
Yeah.
Really terrible. But yeah, the only decent thing on there is the guy's face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
But yeah, it's definitely
AI, yeah.
But the arms and everything is off. Horrible.
Yeah. And the
And
thing
in
is, like,
fact-
the chest is like contracted, but with the arms in that in that position, the chest wouldn't be doing that. But that's a mistake like somebody could make.
Oh yeah,
while
that's
drawing.
definitely extracted because if you look at it, you can see
Yeah.
where the computer messed up on the black fills and all that, where it's all
Mhm.
square and stuff, and he
Yeah.
didn't go over and fix it.
Right.
Mhm.
What a great name, Elvis Gonzalez.
Elvis Gonzalez. Yeah.
That's a real name.
Yeah. I know a
That's
couple of
not
those,
made up at all.
and they're not
Here's
even
his-
impersonators.
Here's his
Oh,
pretend
yeah.
video.
Mhm. That's not a sock account at all.
No. Elvis Gonzalez.
6'5" 451.
The thing is, like, I love the fact that he started counting the fingers from the pinky up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you mean you can just look at the just the line work that he has like
Yeah.
on the hand in general. It's like when he pulls out, when he extracts everything, you can see all the digital signs of it there, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
no guy. No.
Okay. and just the gonads on the gentleman to lie about it, to like a bunch of professional artists.
Oh,
right?
you'd be amazed. People trying to get away with stuff that
Yeah.
that
Oh,
go
God,
hands on people. It's just
I've seen fist fights for
did
less.
prove I didn't.
Yeah. I've seen people go to blows for less, so I'm not surprised.
Jesus.
No, I'm not
no.
surprised either.
Where did we leave off at here? I have to check it. Please do. Yep. Genco, glad you're here. There's always little details that are off with AI. Well, there was a lot of big details on that one that were just
Yeah.
terrible. Yep. Jesus spelled. Yeah.
They misspelled ISOM? What?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yesterday on the news, they talked about the new Google AI thing, and they did an experiment putting a dog and a cat side by side. Dog wasn't a dog; it was a hybrid. Something was off. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I was raised in the 80s, so I don't trust AI.
Rob
Yeah.
Liefeld does it better.
Yeah.
Yeah. On that
With
drawing,
with his amazing Captain America chest.
he will never live that down.
No, he
Ever.
It's going to haunt him until the day he dies. That
Yeah.
drawing. Yeah. Even though he's a much better artist even than when he was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's just he's never going to get
I
past
mean,
that.
if you looked at his original stuff, it's like, it was rough. Like the stuff he did when he first got like work at DC and Marvel, it was rough. But it's like, hey, this dude could, he had a concept of what he was doing.
Yeah.
And given like his life and the shit he was going through at the time, the fact he got like to that level was incredible. Because it's like his father was dying of cancer. He just had like an eye operation where he removed an eye. He's like working to support the family. He's doing like construction work, and then he's coming home and drawing all in his free time. He basically went to San Diego being like, well, if I can't make it, gonna be not drawing comics. And
Yeah.
did it.
Grunwald.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Yeah. Grunwald, I think they said, found him, gave him his first work.
Yeah, I think that was it.
Right place, right time.
Real artist always seems to have more attention to detail than non-artist. No one.
No.
I compare AI to trans. It's the same.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
follow that Marvy at all.
I got it.
I got it.
Finger fist fights.
Trans?
I got it.
So one of the things was like 3D. I get a
It's not
similar
really
kind of
means.
similar kind of argument for some people. Like 3D isn't real art, or
Oh, dude. The people who say that have not done 3D.
and then of course
Just
you
art. It's to start with different tools. That's,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
what it is. Yeah.
It's a different sensitivity. I'll give you that.
well,
It's
like
literally-
I'm classically trained in like sculpting
Yeah.
like by hand, right? So I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
do both.
Well, that's like saying that Michelangelo's David isn't art, then, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. Dude,
listen.
I'm trained in CGI. I just don't do it because I don't like it.
I'm wagering he had cheat reference for that.
Yeah. But the thing's like I can model a
Statue of David.
character. I mean, I can model a character with techniques from 2007. Like I don't really do sculpting. Like I do like polygon modeling, which is not done anymore. Right now, people like will sculpt and then do something that's called like roto binding, which is like making it quads to make it a. Okay, I'm getting technical here, but it's hard, and
So
you have to know your
retopology.
anatomy.
Yeah.
Yeah, retopology. Yeah, and you really gotta know your anatomy and the posing. Like if a CG artist doesn't know his anatomy or the principles of animation, it shows, and you see it on shows, on TV shows. Like the animation is horrid, and you see bends that shouldn't be there, and things that are happening with the texture. Like there's a lot of things you can screw up in CGI if you don't know what you're doing.
with the posing and stuff like that, and the animation of 3D models, particularly CGI, is they start off, and why it looks weird often is because they start off with a T pose or an A pose, right? And there's no musculature, like because I'm like I do statues and miniatures and figures. I work with a pose, right? And somebody said, why can't you just do this and then do like just pose it and do like. I'm like, I'd have to rebuild the entire model to put it into to the pose that you want, because muscles, they don't look the same when they move around, right? So like when I'm trying to do something, I'm not animating it. I try to get a moment in time and get all the movement correctly and how the muscles,
You're sculpting,
sculpting, right?
When you do a character for animation, like you start with the
Completely
T pose. Your topology should be on point if you want the muscles to move correctly. Then you do the rigging, and then with a combination of bones and deformations, you can get the muscles to move properly. It's a lot of work.
Very difficult.
And I know how to do that in Maya. I know how to do that in XSI, which doesn't exist anymore, and I know how to do that in 3D Max. And it's something that I don't wish in my worst enemy. Like I don't like it. I don't like doing that. But I'll do it if they pay me.
The other thing with like 3D stuff is that there's different jobs too. Like
there's a lot of jobs.
So I had a gentleman that was asking me about, or he was like, hey, you said you were looking for work, and then he's like, he posted, here, let me help you. So he got this like Indeed list of jobs of 3D, and he posted I'm like, I'm looking for freelance stuff is what I meant, and he posts all these jobs. I'm like, I don't qualify for half of these, man. Like, I'm not a 3D like expert in animation. I do figures. That's all I do. I do statues for production. That's my thing, right? So, and then he just kept sending me these links. I'm like, I had to just tell him to stop.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
I had a really good friend send me an Indeed posting a couple of weeks ago that said, here's a job for you. This would be perfect. It's Bad Robot was looking for a world builder for somebody who would be able to imagine entire civilizations and worlds and stuff for their video gaming and their other media work that they want to do. And to design properties and worlds and stuff like that. They were offering $50,000 to $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
and said that wasn't enough money. not to do what they wanted.
Yeah,
But
and
I also told them they wouldn't take me. I'm too gray for that.
yeah,
So
that's the thing.
I could write rings around whatever they wanted to do, but they
no,
would
but the
probably
thing that when they
never
talk
even
about
look at
world
me
building,
twice.
Randy, they're talking. They need a CG generalist who's really good at backgrounds and can come
No,
up with
they
concept sketches.
literally the way the ad was constructed, they were looking for an idea man, a guy to walk in and say, "What you need is a gigantic cat that can spit out dimensions." That kind of work, just
World
off the
building
wall.
is for video games and games
Just-
and stuff.
yeah.
and it's like all campaign settings and
They mentioned they only mentioned a slight knowledge in video game application, but the big thing they were out to pay only like 50 to 100 grand a year for an overactive imagination. That's really what they were looking for.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's
not
like
worth it.
that's,
Yeah.
That's not. I can sit here and make worlds just fine. Thank you.
World building is generally specific in to like creating universes and stuff, and like fake countries and the trade routes, and if you look at authors like Ed Greenwood, you realize quickly that stuff takes years to develop. Not just
look at how long Herbert was working on Dune before Tolkien when he was doing Lord of the Rings. It's just years of creativity.
And the thing with Dune and with Tolkien and Herbert is that it's not like the old trick of like it looks like an iceberg, but it's really like a raft with ice on it.
Yeah.
A lot of people like, I do world building, but what they do is like they give you like a main story and just hints of other things that are like right up, but they're not really fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and if you have the gift of God, like if you can talk yourself into any situation, like you can sell yourself as a world builder, even though you're not, and the product suffers.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Anyway, it's almost time to be wandering on. But before we do, I've got a couple of research books on writing that I think folks need to take a look at. Maybe add to their library if they're writers. And that the first one's the obvious, Elements of Style, William Strunk. You can always find new material there. That's one of those books that you should always keep on hand. A great book about writing scripts and pacing, making a good script great. This is the second edition. This goes through, it's by Linda Seeger. She goes through and lists, she's a script doctor for Hollywood back during the 80s. And she goes through and lists a bunch of the other different projects that she worked on, like Tootsie and the like, and what they had to do for story structure and in order to make the movie whole and to move properly, the foundations and stuff. I also have a great book on writing erotic fiction and getting published.
There's the fun stuff.
Very interesting stuff. Yep. Very interesting indeed.
Yeah, writing with one hand. It's typing with one hand.
Typing with one hand. Yes. Yeah. The main book, though, is the complete guide to script writing. That's the book that you need to look for. It's in hardback. I'm pretty sure it's still in print. It's part of the Writer's Digest editions, written by J. Michael Straczynski. And if you know who he is, you'll want to pick up that book. And if you appreciate him, there you go. Yeah.
He's the Babylon 5 guy, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
It's a great book. And he's somebody who has learned the differences between writing for all of these different mediums, and he points that out in the book. It's really good, very important. It literally is a college class right here between covers, and I can't recommend the book enough. And again, it's still one of those books that I go through all the time and look through and read. So, and Straczynski's somebody that I really admire because he's learned and he's done some great stuff that I think is phenomenal. And it's usually the stuff that you never really see out there. If you haven't seen Babylon 5, you really need to take a look at that run.
Babylon 5.
His comic book work is a wonderful progression of him learning the craft, because he first started out doing a Babylon 5 comic when he was writing for comics, and he was writing a screenplay that he was trying to adapt into a comic book. It didn't quite work out, And then the farther along he goes, the better I think his technique and his writing ability becomes. And now he just kicks it out. He's just the stuff he does in comics to me is just amazing. I think he's one of the best writers in comics because he understands the form and he understands what has to be in a comic story in order to make it successful.
Yeah.
And I think I've said on here before, I bumped across at Ollie's Brave and the Bold collection that he did that has 6 short stories in it with different characters meeting other characters, like Flash going back to World War II and then breaking his leg, running across Sergeant Rock, waiting for his leg to heal enough so that he could run back to the present. And there's another great story in there that involves Batgirl, Zatanna, and there's one other character. They all have a girls' night out. That is just incredibly done.
That's great.
Incredibly done. There's a number of other stories in that book too, Demon, and it's really odd pairings too, really off the wall types, but great stories. But yeah, if you can pick up that complete guide to script writing, if you're interested in writing, you won't regret it. It's got a lot on structure and a lot of the differences, and knowing the differences really helps you out, especially in planning or realizing that everybody's structure is different. You know, every media has a different structure of writing.
So I got one last book to recommend. There is, for those in the pen, how to create your own shiv and how to hollow out a Bible. 101.
Are you joking?
I'm joking. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Actually, I have a. Yeah.
Silence in the crowd. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah.
Red Dress Press says Pedro will certainly be picking that one up for research.
She's talking about typing with one hand, the erotic guidebook. Yeah, I might check that out. I have another. It's more about film directing, but it's really good for storyboard artists and comic book artists. It's called Film Directing Shot by Shot.
Yes.
Stephen D. Katz.
Yep.
And dude, like it's a really good guide to learn how to do visual storytelling.
Yeah, I must have loaned that out to somebody because I can't find my copy of it. But it is an amazing book. Yeah,
it's an amazing book, and that will help you to basically talk with the camera.
Yeah,
which is very important.
And that works well in filming and in sequential art, everything like that. Yeah, it's really a good book for all of that. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks a lot for being here. It's been Sunday Funnies for the 16th of July. Holy crap. We're in the middle of July.
The year's flying.
Yep. Just sliding by. Pedro, tell folks how they can find you.
Okay. You can find me at the Pedro Inc. channel on YouTube. You can find me at Mgilla on Twitter. If you need help with your trailers for your campaigns, I'm your man. Anything with 2D animation, I'm your guy. And yeah, I'm not open for commissions for comic book work because I'm swamped at the moment, but I think I'm going to open that in a couple of months. I might be open if you're interested in working with me. So yeah.
Cool. Sweet. Whiskey, tell folks how they can find you.
You can find me
if you want to be found.
If I want to be found. You can find me on Twitter right there. Bandit and Ricochet. We do 3D models and all that kind of stuff. Send me a message or send us a message because we have a couple of people working with if you want something made. And I'll get you hooked up.
Cool. All right, Glenn, tell folks how they can find you.
Find me on these podcasts on Friday and Sundays. On Randy will go into the details of that. You can find my work on Amazon. You can find me at New Haven Press. New Haven have just published this, which is my Jack Kirby book about when I went to see him a couple of times in the late 80s and early 90s. There's also a DVD of me talking to him. If you want that, get in touch with me. I'll just do a quick plug for this, nothing to do with comics. My latest book about Manchester United soccer, 1010s. That one's out in the 25th of July.
That's football.
That's football, yeah, soccer, as you call it. And coming soon is Hatch 2, which is my crazy character about a little guy who lives on his own on his little asteroid and gets into all kinds of stuff. And I'm waiting on Randy for an article on this, my magazine about Comics Limited, and you can get all these things on Amazon.
Am I the last one to contribute to this issue?
No, you're not. No.
Okay.
But
Cool.
you can, on Amazon, you can also get my science fiction books as well. So check it out. So that's about it.
All right. Allison, tell folks how they can find you.
You can find me right here on Fridays at 3 p.m. with Arting with the Alley Cat on the Indie Comics Network. I'm also on all the major social medias. I should have my link tree down in the doobly-doo stuff below. So feel free to follow me everywhere it's listed there. I'm also on Threads now as Alley Cat Comics, which is the same as my Instagram. So, yeah, that's pretty much me. Subscribe to my Patreon. Get free stuff. Well, not free stuff. You're paying for comics. You get comics.
Yeah.
Cool. Jenko says, right on. Thanks for the recommendations. Anytime, Jenko. I love doing shows like this where we can help folks out, especially when it comes to being better artists and getting to know their inspirations a little better. So it's always great. If you're ever out in your travels, don't be afraid to take a look at those little tchotchke shops, those little bookstores. You never know what kind of great books you'll find. The little self-published publishers, can't recommend them enough, like Pirates, Crooks, and Killers. The Dark Side of the Great Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
Great stuff. A lot of other little books like that. There's plenty to be found. All these guys are self-publishers just like us, only they're doing prose books about their local area. This one's on Kentucky ghost stories. Just that, no matter where you go, you're bound to find some odd book or publication about the local area and the uniqueness of the area. Here's one on Savannah, haunted mansions, Savannah specters.
Oh man, that's something I don't mess with.
It's great stuff, though. Great reading. Great Lakes Collisions, Wrecks and Disasters. I think I showed that one already.
Like, I don't know, like I'm not a big fan of horror because my people die first in every movie, so
Okay.
that's why I don't enjoy horror that much.
Yeah, I burned out on horror early on in movies. I saw like every B horror movie and drive-in movie horror movie that you could ever imagine. So nowadays,
that's the thing. Like I got tired. If the character's called Dwayne or LaShawn, he's dead. And I'm just like, please allow one to survive. Thank you.
Dwayne and LaShawn, huh? Because I was thinking about working on a book, a comic trio, a trio of squirrels who kept wanting to die, calling it Suicide Squirrels. So nice. Dwayne and LaShawn, there's two names right there.
There you go.
Okay.
Dwayne and LaShawn.
Just
Suicide Squirrels coming soon.
Just draw them with red sweaters on.
Yeah, exactly. Red shirts. Yeah.
Red shirts.
Absolutely. All right, folks, I've been your host, Randy Zimmerman. You can find me on Facebook if you really want to look for me. That's usually my main haunt. I have a Twitter account, but I hardly ever go over there. So if you're trying to get a hold of me on Twitter and I'm not responding, that's because I'm not there. So anyway, we're back here again next Sunday morning for another episode of Sunday Funnies, where we talk about the stuff that inspires, the stuff that you love, the stuff that keeps you in this business and keeps you reading comics. As you see around us here, this was last week's background where we talked about odd, funny books. And we hope you get a chance to listen to that. All of it's archived over at the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com. Go over there and take a look at the other programming. Allison's got a show she does over there, and there's a lot of other great programming over there, well worth your time to listen to. Also, Friday mornings, we do Comics by Night. Friday mornings at 5 a.m. live. 5 a.m. my time, 10 a.m. Glenn's time. Still 5 a.m., I think, Pedro's time, but he hardly ever shows up. So, right now, we're going through The Watchmen, and we are finishing it off this week, issue 12. Watchmen.
Wait, you're not waiting 3 months?
Done. No, we're not going to wait 3 months. We were tempted, but decided not to, just to get it done and move on to other things. There's plenty of other great sequential art works out there for us to showcase and show off. So we'll be doing that as we go along. And all of those shows are also archived over at the Indie Comics Network, indiecomicsnetwork.com, Indie Comics Network on YouTube. Go over there and take a look. They've been a lot of fun. Glenn's there. Russ Leach is usually there. Whiskey's been there a lot lately. So go over there and take a look. And, maybe you'll learn something as we talk about these great pieces of sequential art that we admire.
Love it.
Other than that, check out Indie Comics Network. If you want to see some of my work, you can go over to aerocomics.store, where you can find books like Calico Shard, which is a fantasy book I do with C. Michael Lanning. It's currently, all of my comics are under a book poop that if I pull the comics out, I'm sure is going to tumble over. So, but anyway, go over there and take a look. Aerocomics.store right now over on funmycomic.com. I think we're closing out the Fool campaign. I've seen the print of the book. It looks phenomenal. Luke's arranged for his local print, or for his print on demand guy, to print the book, and it looks great. I can't tell you how excited I am to actually see copies of that work. And then this is the Fool right here. You can get that as part of the aerocomics.store here shortly, or you can get in on the Fool campaign still over at funmycomic.com. Coming up next will be Alice in Chains, and that's a sample of that work. As soon as that's done being colored by Patrick Gama, as soon as that's done, we'll start the campaign for that once we know that most of the book's in-house. And that'll be fun. It's completely different from the Fool. It's kind of a horror comic superhero character. So can't wait for you to see that. We also do Hero Bot Zero. That's available over at the aerocomics.store. It's a 3-foot-tall giant robot who fights large monsters.
I want to animate that, Randy.
Anytime.
I want to animate that.
Right now, I can't afford much. So
No, it's all right. just know that it's chamber.
Okay.
No.
All right, and remember, folks, we still all just want a piece of cake.
Yeah.
Folks, we're glad you were here. We hope that you were entertained and that you'll come back and visit us again. If you like this program, tell your friends. Go over, like, and subscribe over at the Indie Comics Network. Hit that bell for notifications. Hit that like button. Hit that love button up there. We deeply appreciate everybody watching. In the comments, I know Chris was in the house. Jenko says nice twice.
Nice.
Better
than nice. That's better than nice.
Nice, baby.
We wish you all the best. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great week next week. We'll see everybody soon. Any last words? Go out and visit your local retailer. Try to leave this industry in better shape than what you found it.
Yeah.
That should be everybody's goal. Remember, hating ain't creating.
Yep.
We'll see everybody soon.
Don't hug the buffalo.
Don't hug the buffalo.
Don't hug the bison.
Don't try to pet the lynx.
Yeah, don't
remember the wildlife is wild.
Yeah, if you're going to the jungle, burn it first.
And if somebody's going to try to take you to the Yellowstone train station, run.
Yeah.
Bit of Canadian wisdom: don't eat the yellow snow.
Don't eat the yellow snow.
Don't eat the yellow snow. That's also Bostonian wisdom. Probably Michigan wisdom too.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that really Canadian? Because I don't
know.
Anyway,
Can nobody tell me nothing?
Yeah, in Panama we say, I wish we had snow, but we don't.
So doubly, don't eat the yellow snow there.
Yeah,
especially down there.
It would be yellow water.
Yeah. Take care, everybody. See you soon.
See ya.
The views and opinions expressed within the video content found on the Indie Comics Network are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of the Indie Comics Network or its sponsors. Have a question or comment for us to address on the show? Have a topic you want us to talk about? email us at indiecomicsnetwork@gmail.com. Want your comics to arrive in pristine condition? Head over to GeminiComicSupply.com and save 10% on your next Gemini mailer order or anything in the Gemini Comic Supply store. Use coupon code RAGIN10. That's RAGIN 10.
Didn't go through.
We're still live.
We're still
Yeah.
live.
Great.
Wow.
We're still live. Here we go.
Awesome.
Where is it? There it is. See ya.
Look, everybody's entitled to be an idiot. Look, everybody's entitled to be an idiot.